The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
Hi, and welcome to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. My guests today are Lori Wilder, Director of Education for the Bluewater District School Board, and Jane Thomson, who is the chair of the school board. Now, I have to say, will be my last interview with Lori because she is, no, you're not retiring. You're just figuring out something else to do, right?
Transitioning, David, transitioning.
Yes. I personally hate the retire word. I hate that R word.
I do as well. And I'm just so fortunate. I've really enjoyed my career with First Grey County District School Board and now Bluewater District School Board since 1998. So I'm just so very, very thankful. And I will truly miss the people and the purpose that this role gives me. But I've just been so fortunate. I've enjoyed every different role that I've played in the board. Very, very fortunate and thankful.
And indeed, your successor has already been named.
Yes, he has. Yes.
Jane, who is that?
His name is AJ Keene, and he will be joining us from his current role in Ottawa. But before that, he comes from Thunder Bay, from the Lakehead District School Board, and his roots are from Essex County.
Oh, nice. So it'll be interesting. Now, you will have to warn him about Politically Speaking, I'm sure.
It's on my list.
Things we'll tell him.
Oh, good. Well, I certainly look forward to meeting AJ and to getting to know him as well as I have known you and your predecessor. It's always been good to have the school board speak on Politically Speaking because it's such an important part of our community and all of our lives. Even if we don't have children in school, they walk by your house a lot, as I've discovered. But that's okay. That's the way it should be. They enliven the neighborhood. They certainly enliven the neighborhood. But Jen, I should ask you, Director of Education is a relatively, I won't say small, but it's an interesting job. Did you was your search a good process? Was it, obviously you've been successful, but did it work out well?
Yes, I believe it did. We hired a search firm to help us that work very closely with the education sector. So they are very aware of the needs, the role of a director of education, are aware of who might be out in the communities that are interested and understand. I went through a process to know what we were looking for at Bluewater to find the right match for us. And so that's been a very helpful process. We had lots of excellent candidates. So it's a very big responsibility for a board of trustees to go through that process, to do your due diligence and try and find someone that you feel will be a good fit for Bluewater.
Having been through that myself and as a member of a board, one of the things that I found really interesting was you learned a lot more about your own organization because you were clarifying both roles and tasks and your own understandings as you went through it. So it was a kind of a win-win in terms of the organization because your trustees knew what they wanted, but also learned more. So
yes, yeah, it really is. It's a really interesting process, but it does feel like a very big responsibility. And certainly when we're replacing a Lori, who the more I work with Lori, the more I appreciate what she brings to this role, the relationship she has in our organization, so much that she's offered us that I will miss her very much. But we're looking forward to beginning a new relationship with AJ.
Well, we should also mention that, Laurie, as you said, you've had 27 years with this school board. So there's a lot of organizational history that you retain. Now,
David, it's actually 39.
oh my, with one board. That's true. With the gray board, you're right. I was thinking just the Bluewater board.
Oh, okay. Which really, they're kind of one and the same, I feel, just because of the way we are now. I just think of it clearly as Bluewater. So, but yes, 39 years, there is a lot of historical knowledge there. I'll do my best to share what I can with AJ. And we're so fortunate. We've just surrounded, our staff are fantastic in every area of the board. All of the roles that people play, we just have a great staff and they will carry through. And the good work that we have happening in Bluewater will continue. So I'm very pleased about that.
Well, let's change the subject just a little bit here because part of the history of the Bluewater board will now be the very sudden and tragic death of 4 students and a teacher in the last month from when we're recording this. I have those kinds of community trauma is the term that I've heard often used. What astonished me is how many circles those students and those teachers touched. It really does take your breath away when you sit back and you realize and you start talking with people.
Just clear, like a devastating loss for not only the Walkerton District Community School community, but also our entire school community and beyond. And you're absolutely right, David. I know that Jane and I both had an opportunity to spend some time at the school shortly after the tragedy. And everybody wanted to share stories about the students and the teacher and just the connections whereby they knew them from. And it was whether it's athletic teams or things that they'd done in the community, or so-and-so was a girlfriend of this person. I mean, the tentacles were just very extensive. So our hearts just go out to the families impacted by this and the community that's impacted by this. It was unprecedented tragedy. It's just so terribly sad.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's pull the curtain back a little bit. What happens when you get a community trauma of this scope and nature? What does the school board do? 4:30 on a Friday afternoon, or when the event happened. Obviously, there's a time lag. You would have learned fairly early on, I would think.
Yes.
And then what happens?
So absolutely right. My phone rang on Friday evening. And so from that point forward, it was just constant communication with those folks that needed to be included in the communication process. And at that point, sometimes you don't have all of the information, which is hard to work through what needs to happen next. We are so fortunate. We have an amazing clinical manager in our board by the name of Katie Simpson. So she oversees all of our mental health staff and our tragedy response team. So once confirmation came of the passing of the 4 students and the teacher, Matt, we then put that into play and they did a fantastic job. So things like setting up memorial tables we have to consider. We provided an opportunity for staff to come and grieve collectively on the Sunday before they went back to class. There was just there were so many things, plans that had to be put in place, just in ensuring the compassion and support that is necessary is provided to all of the staff. And then we have to think about our students the next day and what it's going to look like for that week. Because, of course, we can't move ahead with delivery of curriculum as we would. So we have to provide opportunities for students to come in. The St. Job Ambulance therapy dogs were there. Our outside organizations were phenomenal with the support they provided as well with their mental health staff. So Keystone, Canadian Mental Health Association were there, Bright Shores. We just had people reaching out all over of offers of support. So it was incredibly difficult time, but when I look at the support that was provided, it was really outstanding in such a tragic situation.
Mhm. Yeah, because it was not just, the few days after. There was about a week before between the event and the funerals, the memorials that were held the following weekend. So there was uh, grief processing going on in all of that time. Were any exams affected, or did you allow for that kind of thing to happen? We're approaching the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
did that affect any of the high school students at all?
So one decision we did make actually was we called it a bereavement closure. So we did close the school completely on the Monday after all of the funerals and celebration of life that happened. And that is, again, a unprecedented situation. But I had a call with the ministry and I just pretty much said, we are doing this. I truly believe it needed to happen for people to just reset, recover. The weekend was so emotionally draining for staff and students. So in terms of the exam period, it is coming up, but we allow the teachers the autonomy to do as they see fit. They have to have a 30% cumulative activity. So that can be done before exam period, or that could be demonstrated in different ways during the exam period. They don't have to have official exams per se. So there is zero pressure from us in terms of what that looks like for them. And I'm sure that they'll be working with their students to talk about what they see as the best method of assessment going forward, given all that has happened. Yeah, it's just, we have to, the care and compassion and recovery is where our heart is focused right now. And all of those other parts will follow.
Well, it's good to hear that the ministry supported you as well in these technical decisions, because we often the government is an easy target, let's be honest. But it's good to hear that they stepped up and did what was supported you and your colleagues in this very difficult time.
Yes, yes. Very appreciative that they did so. I wasn't really giving them a choice, I must say. It was just, but they understood and were very supportive. And they have been extremely supportive through this whole terrible situation.
Mm-hmm. I have to say that here in Grey Bruce, we do seem to have a bit of, it's going to be an awful thing to say, expertise in these situations, because 25 years prior, the Walkerton water crisis hit,
Yes.
which is another form of community trauma. And I know that over the years there have been not as many, in terms of the scope of tragedies, but there have been students who have been killed at various times through the school year in many different ways. So it's not as if we have the resources and we can mobilize as quickly as possible.
This did for many, David, bring up too the situation that happened in Meaford. You may recall, I think it was 2007, 2008, where 5 high school age boys were killed in a car accident. And at the time, I just left as principal at the school. I was superintendent at the time. So I then went back as support, because back then we did not have any mental health counselors. We had a tiny, tiny little tragedy response team made up of a couple of administrators, maybe a teacher. So when I look at those two situations, the support provided in Walkerton was just a beautiful thing to see and needed. And I'm glad that our system and the ministry support is such that they provide for mental health counselors and things that we need in our system.
If there's anything that we have learned over the years, it is that those kinds of supports are essential on a community basis, community-wide basis. I know that in my world, people were talking, people were sharing stories, because that's a common way that we bind ourselves together is sharing those stories of I remember when, or this person had a huge impact on my life or my grandchild, in my case, my grandchild's life. And I would hear these stories, or someone would say, yeah, I live just down the street from the family who lost a daughter. And so the wheels or the circles are significant in Grey Bruce, and we grieve together as a community.
And support each other as a community. And that was really lovely to see that support come forward. It was going to the memorial services, the number of people, the connections that you heard about, the support that was there. But certainly it's such a devastating loss, and our hearts are still so, I feel so concerned and caring for the families that have had such a devastating loss.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that there has already been a memorial fund set up in the memory of one of the students so far, and I'm sure there will be other memorials that will be established over the next few months.
Yes, I know there's Olivia Rourke Foundation has been set up. So that is one of the young women who was tragically killed. There was also a GoFundMe page that was set up for all of the families. And then there's also another one, GoFundMe set up for scholarships, bursaries. People are so generous. Last I heard, the GoFundMe one was well over $200,000. So, and then the Olivia Rourke Foundation too. I know it'll be very successful as well.
Mm-hmm. And what's really interesting about these is that they do these things is they do perpetuate the memory of those students. I can still remember the names of students who died when I was in high school.
Yeah. And
they still come to you. Contextually they come to you, and you still, yeah, I remember that was a really tough time, because I dare say death is a constant. So it's great that you have been able to support our students and staff in this very unique and special time. So thank you for that. Let's move on to something perhaps a little more, how do I say it? Okay, a little more technical, but essential nonetheless. And that's, you've got a new trustee appointed.
We do. I was thinking when we were looking at the different topics that we might discuss today, a lot has happened in the last little while since we were together. So yes, I think we knew who the trustee was, but it had not come to a board meeting to be formally appointed when we last met. His name is Wayne Peters. Wayne is a retired educator, lives in the Markdale area, and we are really looking forward to working with him.
And he is Grey Highlands and Southgate, is that
correct?
Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And he knows the schools. He was had retired, but he was doing supply work before he took on this work. So he's quite familiar with all of the schools in that area, with the administrators, with lots of the children and parents. So that also brings a lovely connection.
Mm-hmm. Well, don't work him too hard, because he's only got about 18 months left before
That's
the
right.
elections, the school board elections. So
yeah, that's right.
Be gentle with him.
Okay.
And speaking of Grey Highlands, Beavercrest is finally open.
Yes, that was a very exciting day. I was looking back to try and remember when the school was initially approved, the funding for it. And it goes back to, I would have said 2017, but I guess the ministry announcement was in 2018. But it was a lovely day to be there and to celebrate the students in the school. It still has some growing finishing touches to be put on it, because it was such a busy time to get them moved over in the March break frame. But it's a beautiful facility.
Well, I dare say that the history of the change of school has to go back a lot further than that, because there were conversations around school closures,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
and it was on the list. And and Aubrey Chapman stepped up and said, hey, I will put up money to get a new school. And then the
Yes.
ministry stepped in, and there was all a hoo-ha over that. But I thought the best part was when the school was open, the kids celebrated and they wanted ice cream.
That was
a
when
terrific, yeah, this part of the celebration this time too, the Chapman's brought ice cream, and it got quite a cheer from all the students in the audience.
Great. So they did get their ice cream.
A couple of times.
Well, that's one of those good stories, one of those really nice stories. And I guess that, Lori, that'll be the last school that you'll open.
it will be, and it was just a lovely celebration. There's so many people who were part of this process, and a big thanks to the principal, to Neil Schultz. She did a fabulous job in leading the staff in all of it's such a process, right? In terms of deciding what you want to see in a new school, and then actually the move in. They did that over the March break, which is phenomenal, to coordinate a whole school to just move from one building to the next. So it's lovely to be in a brand new building. The first thing when I stepped in, was just the smell, the newness. I had been to the old building just before March break, and it was very evident that the new building would be quite welcome. And so just the brightness, the smell, just the newness, it's fabulous. So you could just tell how excited the staff and students are moving into this new place.
Let's be honest, Lori, the smell of 50 years of gym sneakers, just a bit much. And we used to call that, the old school funk.
I'm a former phys ed teacher, so I do know that smell. I do know that smell.
And I'm quite sure if you go back in another 5 or 10 years, it'll have the same old school funk.
Let's hope it takes a little longer than that.
Yeah.
Over the summer, they will be doing the playground. So now there's still the berm of soil that was between the old school and the new school. The old school is no longer there, and that soil will be spread out, and a new playground will be put in over the summer. So one of the extra things that they'll start to see really be finished. But so now the kids are in a restricted area for playing, so that'll be a welcome addition for them come September.
You think of the revitalization of Markdale with the new hospital, the new school, new subdivisions. And it really is quite something to see how the community has changed and grown.
Yeah, a new school seems to be part of that growth and development. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons, but we were excited for them, and there is a lot of development going on around there.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, there is a lot of development going on all over. Where else have we got schools going up and schools in the pipeline?
So we have approval for a growth school, they call it, down in Dundalk. And we also have approval for a school in Port Elgin. And we also have approval for one in Kincardine. So there is a lot on the go, and that's a lot of coordination and work for our plant department. We still are in the acquiring land process, but we hope that that's happening soon, because once that happens, things go pretty quickly, whereby the school goes up faster than you would expect. So it's really exciting, honestly, for a board our size to have that many approvals for new builds. And I'm so pleased that the ministry has seen fit to fund us.
It will be interesting because there's something like 3,000 here in Owen Sound. There's something like 3,000 new homes approved, and St. Mary's is going to be. In fact, they're just in the final approvals now at the city for building a new building out on the east side on 28th Street East. And so 28th Ave East, not 28th Street, 28th Ave East. So there's lots of changes coming in the education field, whether it's in the Catholic Board or in Bluewater District.
As we've talked about before, though, the ministry will fund us for the students that we have, not for projecting into the future of what who might be there. So that is always a challenge. We were lucky in Markdale to have 2 rooms added on when we started to appreciate the growth that was happening there and knew it would be too small. But all schools around the province are really expecting to open with portables on site. It's just the reality of where we are at the moment.
But those aren't your grandmother's portables.
No.
The portables are beautiful.
I have stories about portables.
No, they are beautiful. They are air conditioned. They are bright. They have windows. They are gorgeous. And I was thinking, to my teaching days, I would probably be asking for a portable. I think I prefer just this beautiful space to yourself with your students. I don't know. They're lovely.
Well, I remember what we used to call the portable funk.
Oh, not anymore, David.
No. The world has changed, thank goodness. Like I said, it's not your grandmother's portable. I actually remember them being heated with oil stoves.
Oh,
I'm dating myself. They were pretty raunchy, but hey, give me air conditioning. I love it. That's
yes.
Great thing. So that's great. Well, we shall see. Again, that's a constant theme of these conversations is, okay, what's happening with the schools, which leads me to the next subject, which is budget. Where are you? Obviously, you're not on the minister's naughty list.
Well, we certainly hope not. But no, we have had I have to give great credit to our business staff. The budget was in the mid-May, and the core funding didn't come out until I think it was into May 23rd. Core funding came out, and our staff would have had some parameters to work around. It's not until that technical paper comes out that they can finish the budget. So they were able to work very, very quickly, and we've been presented the budget, which is balanced. We will be voting on it at our June board meeting. It needs to be to the ministry by the end of the month. But our budget is $299 million. It's a large budget. The majority of it, the core funding puts money into sections that's really generated by our student population. And we're dictated where much of that money is spent, and it's in our classrooms. So we're very pleased. But we know we have to work, as a household does, within the money that we're provided and the funding envelopes that were provided. And I think that's where we're seeing some of our fellow boards having a struggle, because they're trying to decide how to handle situations or programming that they're not funded for. So while we might like to have lots of extra things, if we don't have the money, we can't sustain it. We know we have to be careful so we don't get ourselves in trouble moving forward.
As well as infrastructure. Many boards have huge infrastructure deficits. And we've talked about this before, sometimes decisions are made that are not always responsible. And that gets boards into trouble with the ministry as well, but not Bluewater.
No, and we were lucky. You referenced our accommodation review with Markdale involved that work needed to happen at the time that it did. There's certainly not a pleasant process, but to look at an area and decide the most efficient way to provide education for those students. And now that there's a moratorium on any school closures, there are many boards who would like to make some decisions because they're operating spaces that aren't funded, but they don't have the ability, they don't have that tool to work with. So as awful as that process is, we are in a good position because we went through that when we did.
Yeah. Well, on that note, let's take a break because, hey, somebody wants to talk to the viewers here. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. I'm David Shearman. This is Politically Speaking. Stay tuned.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
As I looked upon the battlefield in front of me, a German star shell lit up the desolate landscape. I watched as a bullet smashed through the bridge of my nose and left me to the mercy of the darkness. I worried I would be dependent on others for the rest of my life. But Sir Arthur Pearson and the staff of St. Dunstan's had other plans. With their help, I knew I could be self-reliant, and I wanted to bring this idea home to Canada. I wanted Canadians to know that we could hold jobs, that we could contribute, that regardless of sight, all would read, that we, the blind, would shape our own lives, our own destiny.
Blinded by a sniper's bullet in 1915, Edwin A. Baker went on to co-found the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, shaping a path forward for the blind across Canada for generations to come.
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at rogerstv.com.
Hi, and welcome back to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. My guests today are Jane Thomson, the chair of the Bluewater District School Board, and Lori Wilder, who is the director of education, for at least a few more months. At least a few more months.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is also this time of year is also not just a time when, Lori, you are retiring or you are, I like to use the phrase downing tools. You're downing tools, and then you will start to pick up the tools you choose to pick up.
Oh, I like that too.
What I've started to use, I may have downed tools, but I'm picking up the tools I choose to pick up. So anyway, but board life, board reality goes on, and there are changes in the wind for the fall. And that's always something that gets people excited because it's a time to say farewell and a time to then getting ready to say hello again.
Yes, we do have, we did send out a media release on our administrative placements for next year. And those placements, they are done to accommodate many things. So it could be from an administrator. These are our principals and our vice principals. It could be a request for a move. It could be a geographic request because their drive, they want to shorten their drive. It's due to retirements. We do have some folks leaving the board, for example. So when people look at it, you'll see that some are leaving, some are maybe coming to the system for placements as well. So that changes the dynamics. We are just fortunate. We have a great pool of people that we can move about. We know geographically we're quite large though. So we do have to accommodate that where folks live. And we try not to get folks to have a drive more than say 45 minutes. And less, of course, is better. So yeah, it's great to see, and we always enjoy having our VPs stepping up into principal roles, and we have a strong administrative staff in Bluewater.
Good, good. Well, I know that it's always exciting because I recall back in my school days, oh, we're getting a new principal. Oh, what's that going to be like? What's he or she going to be like? And it becomes a kind of an excitement for everyone, not just staff, but for everyone. So, and there is a fair amount of retention in this school board, isn't there? People
Yes.
they stay within the board as opposed to moving to other boards.
Absolutely, they do. Huge amount of retention. And in fact, we are now having people outside our board applying. So we have now in the last few years had quite a few people from out of board coming and moving to this area just because they're hearing good things about the board. And of course, what a beautiful area that we live in. So we have a lot of external folks now who have joined us, and we have room for them too because we are growing as well in our enrollment. So we have room for them, and we do support internal promotions as well. So teachers who want to have a VP placement, we have a very thorough process of which our trustees, the chair and the vice chair, sit on that committee as well, which is good. So yeah, we have a very thorough interview process that they go through, but we have some great folks out there leading our schools.
It also helps with retirements because, dare I say it, you're probably the people who are in would have entered the education system in the late 70s, 80s, thereabouts. And as they reach retirement age, you know, it's not uncommon that, hey, we got to replace those people.
Oh, yes, actually, the media release itself, we do have a lot of folks who are retiring. And so that just, but the retention's good, but the retirement's there as well. So, and sometimes folks make retirement decisions like me later than expected, and some make them earlier than expected. But in education, we are very fortunate that you are able to retire at a good age, around 55, and the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan is there. And I realize so many folks and listeners of this program probably don't have that pension availability, but it's certainly a wonderful part of our role.
Yes, yes. And just the technical name, it's a defined benefit pension.
Yeah.
In that, and it's not government funded, it's employer funded, but it's also employee funded.
Yes.
With the balance of the two.
Yes.
And it's simply a guaranteed payout as opposed to something you don't know, which is not as common as it used to be.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
David, I was just going to add on the piece. We do interviews for vice principals throughout the year because as much as the announcements come out, we know life can be a little uncertain, and so there are times through the year that changes have to be made. Someone becomes ill and needs to take a break. And so it's, I always admire the senior team at this time of year. It must be a little bit like putting a puzzle together to try and figure out the moves. And if this move happens, what's the next step and how do we fill? And a big job. But I thank our administrators who need to be flexible too as they move around and bring their talents to different schools.
Jane, the way I heard it expressed once was actually a senior nurse, and she was doing scheduling, and she said, "This is my version of Sudoku." It's the same principle. You're trying to fit people into and try and meet needs, but you can't meet every need, and so but it's always interesting to see how it turns out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, well, job well done. for both of you. I mean, these are the kinds of things that I did not know, that the trustees have a role in staff placements, in governance, or principals and vice principals process.
We don't place.
No,
It's not our job to do that, but we are fortunate to be able to sit in on the interviews. And I always value that. It's great to see the talent that's out there, and to to hear that process. So that part we get to participate in.
Well, that actually instills confidence in the staff.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, because you're on the governance side, while you may not make operational decisions, at least you know, oh, okay, I remember them.
And the process and how it works. Yes.
Yeah. Good. Well, let's talk about some of the really cool stuff that's happening with students and Science Olympics. I saw some media reports on the Science Olympics in Fredericton, which have just finished. Is that what there are various stages as well, aren't there?
Yeah, it's similar to the science fair or speeches where there are different levels, but we had victory belongs to Hanover's John Diefenbaker Senior School students. We had 4 students who were triumphant at this year's Science Olympics, held locally by Nuclear Innovation Institute. And so we've done it for 3 years, and there were 18 teams of secondary students. And this was actually from Bruce and Grey and Huron counties. And it was hosted just early on in May. And it's about hands-on challenges, science-related challenges, and they test critical thinking and teamwork and scientific intelligence throughout the day. And so congrats to JD. It's wonderful, like when we talk about promoting STEM, like that's kind of our science, technology, engineering, math programs. This is a way for those students who are really science oriented and minded to come and show their skills. Because, you think of athletic, we have competitions all the time, but to show science skills, it's great to have this kind of competition available for them to come and show what they can do.
And the cool part is the Nuclear Innovation Institute is obviously right here. And we have that nucleus, sorry about the pun, about here in with Bruce Power.
Yes.
And it only makes sense to encourage that kind of development among our local schools. So great, it's a wonderful experience. The thing that, and well, it's not the same event. The thing that I watched in the national event was, these kids are bright. Scary bright. And it doesn't matter what level they're at, they're scary bright, and that's a good thing for us as a community, but as a country as well.
I would agree. It's absolutely remarkable. Their creativity and their problem-solving abilities are really evident at these, and our future is strong when we know that we have young people like this coming forward in different disciplines. Like they were demonstrating, whether it be physics, biology, chemistry, math, earth science, they just knew it all. They're so well-rounded in terms of their scientific knowledge. And thank you for mentioning Bruce Power. We are so fortunate with both NII and Bruce Power, who sponsored this event. They've really supported our student activities over the years and prior years. So big thanks to both of them.
And I'm sure that it will inspire other students. Because I remember the days when, you looked at the senior students and thought, gee, can I do that? Yeah, you can.
You sure can. And that's right. When we have students, they see success and they see what's happening out there, then the younger ones think, I want to be part of that. Absolutely. It also makes me think of robotics. That's another kind of level that we have, science-based, and it's really popular now too. I was down, actually, here's an interesting little story. I was down visiting High Point Community School in Dundalk, and they have a very, very diverse population. including a large majority of students from Mennonite families. And so the electric cars are ones that they have a club down there. And so I was visiting, and we had a huge population, mostly male students out there with their electric cars and buzzing around. Then they put them on a track. And so it was just fabulous to see. It was mostly the Mennonite boys were there. And I said to the one young man, like, where did you get your electric car? And he said, on Amazon. And I said, well, that's perfect. That's perfect. But just to see their interest too in these kinds of activities is fabulous.
Well, we have to be very careful about our stereotypes of
Yes,
various
absolutely.
communities, because I remember Brian Milne, the warden of when he's mayor of Southgate right now, telling me of taking a tour of various industries, and they went to a Mennonite farm, and here out in the shed, it was more than a shed. It was a metalworking shop. Was this massive plasma cutter, and out back
Yes.
was a diesel generator.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, they didn't have electrical power in the house consistent with their faith principles. But by golly, they had a plasma cutter in the shop. So it's good. It's interesting to see that the young boys have hey, horses are fine, but let's see what we can do with some electric cars here. So that's actually quite
Yeah, it was delightful to watch them. They were so excited.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what's delightful too is to see the inspiration of all young people when they get the chance to do some stuff with that. Get to play with the good toys. Toys. Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, let's talk also about the Indigenous Students Forum, which we've talked about before. But how was it what was that about this year?
We were fortunate. We even have some more student forums coming up, which I can mention. But this one specifically, we will get to that. We're fortunate because with our Bluewater Outdoor Education Center up in Oliphant, what a fabulous place to host any kind of activity. So this is where it was hosted, and we had approximately 90 grade 7 to 12 students who self-identify as Indigenous. They gathered there, and it was a great opportunity for them to go through different stations and workshops that were provided for them. And they could choose between bannock making, porcupine quill harvesting, black ash basket creation, fire making, drumming, leather pouch making, guided walks, and powwow dance demonstrations and lessons. So it's a wonderful way for them to embrace their culture. We had elders there as their leaders for the day. And as the student voice was really important, it's a fundamental part of the day. So we really do gather their feedback to say, how are we doing as a board? What can we do better to support your learning? So it was just a really great day for those students and the staff that came to support them at the Outdoor Ed Center.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we kind of forget is the Outdoor Ed Center at Oliphant. It's a great place, a great resource we have. Now, it used to be that the grade 7 and 8 students would often have an overnight there. Is that program, is that still happening as well?
It's actually our grade 6 students. So every grade 6 student in the board, the year that they're in grade 6, they get to come up and do 2 nights overnight. Generally, that's the common practice. And some of the students are lucky. If they're in a 5-6, they bring the 5s with them as well. So they might get 2 years of doing that, which I know my own children still talk about their experience at the Outdoor Ed Center and the games that they played. And we also do have 7 and 8 and high school groups come and camp. So it's available for them. But what a fabulous resource. And we just had a presentation. The trustees just had a presentation at board, and the students were interviewed about what they like about the Outdoor Ed Center. And along with the games and the activities, many of them commented on the food. We have a fabulous chef there too. So they talked about the food. Everybody likes to eat. So
wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. Wonderful to hear. One of the other forums that you've had is the will be having because it hasn't occurred yet from when we're having this interview, is the Rainbow Student Forum.
Yes, and that's being held Wednesday, so this week. And when it's here, it's being held at the board office, and of course I'm here. The energy and enthusiasm and the excitement of those children is just fabulous. Again, it would be 7 to 12 that are coming, and we'll have different workshops for them as well. And it's just for students to come together with people that make them feel comfortable and welcome and accepted. It's a very inclusive environment. And we just show them that we, truly care for them and are very, very supportive. So it's a great day, and I look forward to Wednesday, and maybe Jane will have to be the one that maybe next Politically Speaking, she can report back on that.
Yes.
So I won't be here.
That'll be in the fall.
That's right.
Fall.
That's right.
Do the trustees take a part in those forums too, Jane?
No, not usually. It's really for students.
Mm-hmm.
And it's their time. So a stranger, if you will, being part of it might change the dynamics for them. So no, we don't have a role.
Mm-hmm. Well, it will be interesting to hear about the Rainbow Student Forum next fall. Why do I feel so? I don't know. I almost feel like I'm getting towards the end of school.
Yes,
well, we are.
It's close.
We are. It's close. It's close. It's close. Which leads me to another question: summer school. That's one of the things that is a constant. It's available. So what are the plans for summer school this year?
So we've really morphed from back in the day. So summer school now is completely online, but we offer quite a few courses ranging. So of course, grade 9, we have a lot of English, math, science. So compulsory courses. Grade 10 is the same, 11, 12. So we offer brand new courses so they can do new credit courses, or we also offer credit recovery. So if a student wasn't successful, they have an opportunity to catch up. And we also offer reach ahead credits. So if they're entering grade 9 in the fall, they're invited to reach ahead and achieve a credit before they even enter secondary school. So grade 8 student. As well, we have grade 7 and 8 programs in literacy program, and they run from July 7th to the 18th. All the information is on our website. So if somebody's watching and wants to access information, please go to our website. And as well, separate from summer school, we do offer landing success programs, and we're going to offer those both with Nehwashansauquen First Nation for students who identify as Indigenous. So those two allow them to get a secondary credit, and it will be held in those communities. The two programs will be held in their communities. So it doesn't stop. School might be out, but we still keep going all through the summer.
Has this been one of the discoveries of COVID by using online education? I remember the days when summer school was actually limited to because of capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like you don't have to worry about capacity anymore.
That's correct. We've done kind of a hybrid version of this, and we found though that our enrollment has gone way up with the online availability. Especially transportation was a bit of an issue, if you think, because we would generally host it in Owen Sound. And so transportation for students that were living maybe Kincardine or down in Dundalk, it's really difficult for them. That's a long travel time for them to get here and to organize busing, etc. So this, we find, is much more equitable and inclusive for students.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting because with the expansion of fiber optic internet across Grey Bruce, which we are now experiencing, it does make it a whole lot easier for students to do these courses online, which is, 5 years ago we would have said, huh?
Yeah. Yes, I know. And we don't limit it to, we offer it. I mean, if, for example, there's a student in Bruce Grey Catholic who wants to join, we are open. It's not just for Bluewater students too. we are open. I know way back in the day, I taught summer school, the face-to-face, and we would have children of cottagers, say in the Meaford area, come or wherever, and they would enroll in summer school as well. So we are open to other students if they wish to come.
That's really interesting, because you don't think that way. Summer school used to be kind of I didn't get my credits, so I got to go back. Well, no, that's not true. So you can. I hate to say it, you can sit on the beach at Sauble and do your studying there.
Exactly. That's you can be wherever, and it saves time. You're not traveling one end or the other. So I think it's a great option for students and families too. There's more flexibility in the way we're offering it.
And isn't the penetration of Chromecast computers very, very large across the board? Did over 90% of the student have access to Chrome laptops?
In secondary, yes. So it's you're correct, in over 90%, and we it's available for all of them. We have very few that choose not to take one, probably because they have their own device that they're comfortable with. And we've also done a pilot project this year, and we've offered it to 20 classrooms of grade 7 and 8s. And that has been extremely successful as well. We just have to keep an eye on things, just with, we're hearing about the budget difficulties of other boards. So we just want to make sure we plan accordingly, don't overextend ourselves in that way. But we just know that trustees received a report, and just the data that we have would show that the students in 7 and 8 are really benefiting from that pilot project.
Interesting. Again, it's one of those things that we never really thought about 5-10 years ago. Mm-hmm. But it just shows you how the education system has changed, and changed, I suspect, for the better.
Yes and no. I mean, Jane, were you going to comment on that?
I guess I was going to answer the same way. I mean, It is the future for us, online and computers, and we want our students to be ready for that future. So they welcome the opportunity. But, technology brings its own challenges. I think we see that all the time also. So it's always a balance and moving forward with it. But
well, we're almost out of time, and we'll have to save this topic for the fall. How did in school go this past year?
It's a great question. And I have to say, in my role, I have had zero concerns, expressed complaints. Yeah. I would say the same with superintendents. They're not hearing it. So I am touching wood, but we aren't hearing any negative aspects around that. So I really think it's a good thing that has happened, because our students should be focusing on the lessons and the instruction that's taking place, and not looking at their phones. So,
and with that, Lori, we've got to say farewell to you and a round chorus of Alice Cooper, School's Out for Summer. Jane, Lori, thank you both so much for your time with us, and thank you, friends, for being a part of Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. We'll talk again.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
Are you a passionate content creator ready to expand your audience reach? Do you have unique stories, captivating hobbies, or special interests that deserve a spotlight? Rogers TV is here to amplify your voice within the community.